Hello everyone, Colin Canet here for Woodwork Web. Today we've got a fun episode. We're actually going to be reviewing a new tool, or at least a new tool for us. We're going to be reviewing the Freud FT3000 router and the newly released Freud router table, which I've had a bit of a hand in some of the redesign of. So this is a new tool to us, totally redesigned, so we're going to go bit by bit through it so that you can see all of the features. And we're going to start off with the router. And the first thing that's notable is this is a 3 1/4 plunge router. So what we have here is a plunge router, and I always prefer plunge router because it does everything that a fixed base router can do and more. Now the FT3000 has a speed dial right here up at the top, and that's ideal because when you have this router in a table, you want to have easy access to the speed control, and this one does that. Of course, it also has a depth control, and there's a rough setting here and fine-tuning for here, and of course a turret that spins around so that you can set that at different heights. Now there's also a locking pin at the back, or a locking lever at the back, so that when you plunge the router down you can actually lock that so that it stays in that position. The switch on this router is like a pistol grip, but it also has a lock on it, which is a feature that not every router has. This is particularly nice when you're doing long routing jobs, or when you have this put in a router table, which we're going to be doing in a few minutes. So that's the basic gist of it. Of course, the router comes with both a 1/4 inch and a 1/2 inch collet, nut and collet, and is fully adjustable from that. So let's have a look at this inside the router table now. I've just dropped the router now into the router table, but a couple of other things that I wanted to make note. This router is particularly useful in this router table because you can actually change the height of the router right here from the top of the router table by just simply turning this slot. It's already connected to the router table. You can use this small turning knob that comes with it, or you can use the speed adjustment, which I'm using right now. And this router table, or this router, you can actually bring it high enough that you can change bits on the top of the table, so it'll lift high enough to do that. The advantage of this router is that you don't need to buy a router table lift, and those can go from $200, $300, $400 and even more. So it can save you a huge amount of money just by buying the right kind of router. It'll save you a lot of money. Let's stop for a moment now and have a look at the newly designed router table. Now, as I mentioned, I've had some input into this router table, specifically the fence and how the fence reacts with the router while it's in place. There's a couple of inserts, 2 different inserts that you can put depending on the size of the bit that you're using. Now this router table, compared to the last version of this Freud router table, of course, removing the router from the table from time to time and changing bits, depending on what you're doing, is a pretty useful thing to do. With the old router table, you had to remove the fence in order to get the router out. This router table, you can actually move the router or the router fence back far enough that you can actually lift the router out without having to take the fence completely off. So this fence, of course, moves back and forth and from side to side. What's particularly useful about this fence is that it aligns perfectly because of this aluminum bar that because both of these fences can actually move. And the reason for that, we'll show you in just a minute, is that you can actually joint wood with this router table. Here is where this Freud router table is unique. By releasing this screw on this side, and if you needed to, this one on this side as well, by turning this knob, you can actually, and if you look closely, you can see the inside of this fence moving out. And the reason for that is you can actually joint wood because you actually offset the fences. But when you're not jointing wood, of course you want these fences to be absolutely parallel. And so when you back that off to the stop position, which is right there, lock that up. The same thing on this side. This one's actually locked now. That fence is absolutely parallel across, parallel and vertical. And of course you still have this action of moving the fence back and forth once that fence is parallel and vertical. The router table itself includes this aluminum plate, which of course is what the router is fastened to. And this aluminum plate, of course, is special aircraft aluminum, so it's not like the regular aluminum that you might buy at a metal place. And of course has the adjustment screws so that that plate can be adjusted finely so that when you're feeding wood this way, there's not going to catch here and it's going to feed out properly on that side. So just a terrific router table, and of course the one thing that we forgot to mention is the switch on the front that you plug your router into. And it's actually a dual mode switch so that if you have a shop vac or something similar, you can actually plug that in and connect it to the back of the fence here that you saw the port on, so that when you turn your router on, it actually turns on the shop vac at the same time to help keep a dust-free environment. There we are in the long shot. You can actually see that switch right there, and of course it has the safety tab in it as well. So that's our new Freud Deluxe router table, and we ordered ours, of course, with the FT3000 router that we can actually adjust the height of from the top of the router table while we're doing work. And in the upcoming weeks, we're going to be doing some more projects on this table so you can actually see it in operation. I'm Colin Canet for Woodwork Web. Thanks for watching.